Okay, so we have our final week of spoilers. We didn't get any new Prelude 2 spoilers, but we did get a lot of promos. I think all the promos are revealed at this point. And yeah, let's begin. Alright, so the first one is Kuiper Cooperative. And yeah, I said at the end of my video, I think we had seen the last Terraforming Mars Corporation. And the next card they spoiled was a corporation. Now I don't love it. I can't relate it to standard price, but let's read it. It starts with pretty low cash, 33. So it's in production, which is good. Double space tag, and then the ability is you can place an asteroid there for every space tag that you have. So you can place 2 right on the first turn. And then the ability, now you can't fully see it, but I'm pretty sure what it says is when you play for a standard project, you can use asteroids on this card to count as 1. And it has to be only the asteroid or aquifer standard project. Now, you can see asteroid on the card, but you can't see aquifer. I'm just pretty sure that's what it's gonna be. Just because thematically it makes more sense. It's possible I'm a little off here, but yeah. Either way, I think this is not great. So similar to Spire, it's another way to get discounts on standard projects. Now Spire is 2 per every 2 tags you play, which I think is a lot worse. In this one, you play a couple of space tags and then you get a game long 4 discount on standard projects. But again, the problem is, okay, so what does this corporation do at the beginning? Because space tags are expensive at the beginning. They get better when you get discounts, when you get more titanium production. And they generally have a lot of points. So they're not meant to be building your economy from the beginning because you're overpaying for the points. And then standard products are also not great at the beginning. I mean, it's nice that you can stack some asteroids there and get a discount at the end, but standard projects are just not good at the beginning. You might play an ocean for a 2-card bonus, something like that. And I mean, you say you get 4 space tech in the first 2 generations, then you can do 4 and 4, 8, play an ocean for 10. That's good, but because there's a card that does it for 14. And it's not like an amazing card, but still, I mean, an ocean for 10 is pretty good, but then, I mean, that's it. You just like blew your load there. So, yeah, I don't know what this corporation does at the beginning of the game. I think it just stalls. I rarely play the asteroid. Like, you'd have to get that to like 8 for it to be worth it. But the good thing is you probably late in the game you get a lot of resources there and you can do it. So late in the game it's probably better. So you're probably waiting a few rounds till you get like 6 to do a standard project, and then more realistically that's when you'll have more space tags, maybe 4 or 5 per turn, and then a discount on 5 per turn on standard projects. It's good. It's still boring, and that's the thing. The problem with standard projects is they're always available, so they can never be broken for a corporation, and that means they have to be slightly underpowered to make it, because otherwise you get a broken card. Like, they can't be better than most cards, because then you have basically great cards to play every turn, right? So they have to make it a little underpowered to make it in the standard project theme, and that's where it fails. The other thing that bothers me is that this is the lowest value asteroids have, so you can't really even combo this with another card. Like, if you think of other cards, like other asteroid cards that place asteroids on other cards, like Comet Aiming, it costs 1 titanium, so you're not gonna spend 1 titanium to put, to get a discount of 1 here. That's stupid. Directed Impactors costs 6, and Asteroid Rides, it costs 1, so you actually, I mean, that's still bad because you now can only do that on a standard project, so you wouldn't do it. And in the case of like asteroid reel, you can exchange asteroids there for 3 titanium, so that's better too. So this doesn't combo with anything, and you can't place the asteroids anywhere. So it's an asteroid resource, but really it's only going to function within this card. So there's no point to it being an asteroid resource, and I really like to see more good asteroid combos, but this one's not going to make it. It's like the lowest value an asteroid can have. Yeah. Anyway, let's move on. Mars Nomads, really interesting. So the way it moves, when you play it, you're going to place a gold cube, and those are the Mars Nomads, on an empty non-reserved area, and you're going to pick up that bonus. And every turn you get to move it, including the first one. So first turn, if you go 10 generations, this lets you pick 11 bonuses, right? And so this is great if you get it in the first generation, like to get on Elysium, when you pick up those 3 cards. I mean, that's great, because you can pick up the 3 cards and then get 2 titanium with this card, which is already makes it worth it, right? So I think early this is really good, especially on Elysium. Pretty good on Tarsis too. You can go on Oceans and you can get 2 cards and then go to the 2 titanium ocean, even though those cover fast. And then throughout the game you'll just get a bunch of plans. I haven't looked at the new maps, but I assume like as long as you play this on something really valuable early, it's gonna be really good, without being broken. The other thing is that I'm not completely sure, it says that people can place tiles on that area, which means at the end of the game you can use it to block on the last turn, and on the first turn you can play it, for example, in a 3-card spot, then wait your turn, and then your 2 actions would be moving into titanium and then placing a tile on the 3-card spot, meaning you can draw 6 cards because of this card. So I think it's really interesting, really fun. I don't think it's broken, but I think it's good early, and it really not that great. Like after Gen 3 or 4 I probably wouldn't play it. Okay, moving on. Neptunian Power Consultants. Okay, so this one's weird, but yeah, it costs 14, and then every time an ocean is placed you may pay 5, which may be paid with steel, to gain an energy production and a resource that effectively gives you a point. So I mean, really high potential here. Like 9 points would obviously be great if you play this before the oceans. Even 5 or 6 would be amazing. And you're also getting energy production, so you will use it throughout the game. I mean, if you manage to get this card early, it can be broken. There is one difficulty, and that's that you don't know when people are going to play the oceans, so you like have to have like 5 cash, and if they do something like Ice Asteroid, you're going to miss on one because you're not going to be leaving around 10 cash. And as another side effect, this is going to make the game immediately slower because all players will play cards one at a time. Like everyone needs you to finish your turn first and spend as much money as possible before they can place their oceans. So that's an effect this will have, and another card we'll see down below. But yeah, if you have steel production, you can just leave some steel around for when oceans are placed, and I think that's the ideal scenario. But yeah, at what point is this card good? So it costs 17. So 2 oceans and 2 energy production for 2 victory points and 2 energy production for 27. Probably not worth it, but for 3 for 32, I think that's decent if you use the energy. And if you get to 37, 4 points for 37 and 4 energy production, as long as you use the energy production, that's very good. I know it's really high, 37, but I mean 4 energy production and 4 points is a lot. And then after that, I think 5 and 6 points are just worth it on their own. Like it would be 42, and that divided by 5 is around 9, which is a high ratio, but it's still worth it because it's 5 points. It'll probably use energy, but this is a little expensive to get done early, so you have to make sure that you can leave some steel around to use it, or otherwise you'll get you might just wait 14 on a couple of points and a couple of energy production, which is not great. Okay, another interesting one next. Martian Lumber Corp. So, okay, this one requires 2 greeneries, has a building and a plant tag. and a plant production. And whenever you play a building tag, I assume, including this one, you can pay a plant. You can use plants to pay for 3. So probably not including this one. Sorry. Because the effect has to be before you play it. So you can use plants as 3 money. And if you think about it, this card costs 9. It gives you the plant production, and you can use the plant that plant production gives you for the next 3 turns to pay back the 9 basically, as long as you're playing building tags. And then you get a free plant production for the rest of the game and 2 nice tags. The 2 greeneries could be a problem. That could come down later. And it has to be your greeneries, by the way. So yeah, that could come a little later, and you have to be on a plant strategy. So that's the thing. If you're on a plant strategy, there's going to be many points at which you'd rather have the plant than 3 money. However, it's a cheap plant tag, cheap building tag. It gives you 1 plant production, and it gives you an ability that lets you use your plants as money. Unfortunately, it's for building tags, which is makes it more unlikely that you use it at the end of the game. But I mean, I think it's fine. It's like Archaebacteria, but a lot better, basically. And I think it's playable for a 1 plant production. And if you have a lot of cities and energy production, then you can, save your plants early use your plants early to pay for that, and then just use the plant production later. Yeah, I think that's the main use. Like, you can, instead of placing a greenery, you place a city that turn. Which is something that some corporations like Ecoline can really need. Alright, next up, red ships, and this one's actually pretty simple. It needs 4% oxygen, it costs 2, so 5 total. And every turn you can tap it and gain 1 money for every city or special tile adjacent to oceans. So as long as there's 2, you make this back in 3 turns. And as the game goes late, there are more cities and more special tiles next to oceans. So this is probably playable mid-game, like Gen 6. I would probably play this. You might even get tap it Gen 6 and 7, and at that point you're probably cash positive. I don't think it's ever going to be broken. I don't think this is ever going to go past 10 in terms of income, which would be insane, right? But it would only do it late. So it's a really good card to play mid-game, basically, but not much else to say on it. Okay, then we have Solar Logistics, and this one's okay. So this one's kind of like Earth Office with a little bit of optimal air braking. But yeah, whenever you play an Earth tag, now you have a 2 discount, and whenever you play a space event, you get a card, and it gives you 2 titanium back and a point. So effectively, if you assume you're going to use it to titanium, you can say this costs 17, it gives you a point, and I mean, early the discount on the cards are definitely worth it. So I mean, this card can be hard to get down for some corporations because the 20 is really high, but definitely worth it for most of them, like something like Teslaract, obviously. I mean, you get that additional discount, and now there are a lot of Earth space events and a lot of good ones, like imported hydrogen, imported nitrogen, interstellar colony ship. So I mean, for those cards to come with an extra discount on 2 and a card, that's really good. So I think this one is really good for corporations that start with a lot of money. Much harder to get down for something like Ecoline or UNMI, more terraforming corporations. But for engine corporations, this is great, and those corporations tend to play space events, and there are a lot of space events, and there are quite a few Earth space events. So yeah, pretty solid. Okay, then Teslaract. And I looked at these, I initially got excited, and then I remembered how similar it is to Equatorial Magnetizer, that it probably wouldn't work. Now, I'm sure this works well with something like Factorum or Robinson Industries. So basically with those 2 corporations, you can make it so you basically get a plant production per turn all game. But then your corporation has no additional skill also. So I mean, always keep that in mind. Yeah, combos sometimes mean you are left with nothing else on your corporation. And I mean, a corporation that just came with raise your prime production once per turn is good, but then that's only 2 corporations in the whole game. For everyone else, I mean, I'd rather have Equatorial Magnetizer. This one comes with an additional TR, but you're probably not gonna play this early because I mean, unless you have a energy to produce every turn, like for Terram or Tromson, you're probably not gonna get a lot out of it early. And if you go late, then that plant production is worth less the later you play it. So I mean, you play it 3 turns from the end, this gives you 6 plants, right? Which is less than 3 terraforming rating. So yeah, I don't think this one works, and it's too expensive to play early too. 14 is a lot, so it's a commitment that you can make energy every turn. So I don't like it. Okay, now we have a very weird one. San Joseph of Cupertino mission. Okay, and what this does is that it costs 7, and every turn you can pay 5 to using steel 2 to place a silver cube on a city. It doesn't have to be a city you own. Now there's a text that says the city owner may play 2, and I assume it's remove it. And then you get 1 point per, and that city would now be a cathedral if it has that, and then you get 1 point per cathedral. So I mean, this is a pretty reliable way to get points. You just place on your cities whenever you have to, but if someone runs out of money, then you just place on their city. So I mean, I don't think it's hard to get 5 points here. Like, as long as you're playing kind of, like, if you have 3 cities and wait for your time to place on your opponent's cities, 5 points is not unreasonable. Like the other card, what was it? The one with the oceans. Neptunian Power Consultants. This also makes the game slower in that you now have to take 1 action per turn every time because you don't want to be left without money, so that they place the cathedral on you. And at what point is this worth it? Well, so it costs 10. So the first point is pretty horrible. It's 15 for a point. That's horrible. The second one's 20, so that's 10 per point. Pretty bad still. Third is 25, that's 8. Fourth is 30, so at 4, I think it gets decent. At 5 is good, so 5 it's 7 per point, that's pretty good, and just 5 points, you know. It's never going to be an amazing ratio, but the amount of points is worth it. The key thing is this is a steel dump, and unlike the Neptunian Power Consultants, you can play this much closer to the end. That one you have to play early in the game to get as most as you can from the energy production in the oceans. This one, there's not going to be cities early, and you're not going to try to get 9 victory points or something, so you want to get 3 or 4 or 5. And if you're floating steel, let's just assume that you have 6 steel. That means you can pay twice for free and overpay if you want, which you often do with steel when you're floating. That's 2 points for 10. That's pretty good, because you wouldn't have used that steel on anything else, right? And if you go 3, and then it's 2, like, you'd have to have 9 steel probably floating. But yeah, that's great. That's 3 points for 10. That's amazing. That's a great ratio of 3.5 per point. So yeah, if you're floating steel, this car is great, and it doesn't have any requirements, and you can probably just place on your city with no problem, so you just need 3 cities. So yeah, I think that's the scenario, and floating steel late is not that rare. You are often looking for steel bombs, so I think this is a good one. You just need to have at least 2 cities of your own, and then if you can place on one of your opponents, even better. Also, when you place for the first time, you can surprise your opponent, so it's not hard to get the first cube on an opponent's city, and then the other ones will have to go to yours. Okay, final card. Prelude, called Strategic Base Planning. And I think this is quite solid. It's a city building space tag, so getting 3 tags on a Prelude is already pretty good. But also it places a colony and a city, and it takes 3 money from you. So think for a second of self-sufficient settlement, which is a city and 2 money production, and just imagine you place the colony on Luna. So you're getting the same -3 but plus a colony on Luna, which, you know, the -3 is going to pay back on 2 trades with Luna. And in self-sufficient settlement is solid. It's not the best Prelude, but it's pretty solid. This is like a city and a colony. It's so much value on a single Prelude. And it's not horrible to get one of each early. You definitely wouldn't want a second one of either, but one of each early is good. I especially like this for Ecoline or another plant-based corporation. You get a city early to protect your plants, and you can put your colony in Luna. If you need the money, you put it in Ganymede otherwise. And with a colony in Ganymede, you can trade there every turn to the 3rd step, which gives you 2 plants plus the plant production you get from the colony, plus the colony bonus. You can get 4 plants every turn, basically. And there's not going to be anyone else trading to Ganymede, trust me. So, I mean, 4 plants for 9 is not terrible, but if you get your energy, then you're just going there all game, hoping you can put another colony there. Because with 2 colonies on Ganymede, you're trading to the 4th spot every game. You got 2 plant production, so that's 5, and then you're getting your colony bonus twice, so that's 7, so that's 1 greenery per trade, which is obviously great. So if you manage to do that on Ganymede, it's obviously great. But the point is, this is great value for Prelude, I think, and it's a really solid Prelude. I really like it. Okay, so that's it for spoilers. Probably gonna go back to my more regular videos next week. But yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.